Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reading with Grandma. We're going to finish our story about Josh and Amanda and their family that moved into a house they call Welcome to Dead House. We finished chapter 1 where Josh and Petey had left and nobody knew where they were. Now we're going to start chapter 2. Josh! Josh! First I called Josh, then I called Petey, but there were no sign of either of them. I ran down to the bottom of the driveway and peered into the car. But they weren't there. Mom and Dad were still inside talking with Mr. Dawes. I looked along the side of the street in both directions, but there was no sign of them. Josh! Hey, Josh! Finally, Mom and Dad came hurrying out the front door, looking alarmed. I guess they heard my shouts. I can't find Josh or Petey, I yelled up to them from the street. Maybe they're around back, Dad shouted down to me. I headed up the driveway, kicking away dead leaves as I ran. It was sunny down on the street, but as soon as I entered our yard, I was back in the shade, and it was immediately cool again. Hey, Josh! Josh! Where are you? Why did I sound so worried and scared? It was perfectly natural for Josh to wander off. He did it all the time. I ran full speed ahead along the side of the house. Tall trees leaned over the house on this side, blocking out nearly all of the sunlight. The backyard was bigger than I expected, a long rectangle that sloped gradually down to the wooden fence at the back. Just like the front, this yard was a mass of tall weeds poking up through a thick covering of brown leaves. A stone bird bath had toppled over on its side. Beyond it, I could see the side of the garage, a dark brick building that matched the house. Hey, Josh! He wasn't there. I stopped and searched the ground for footprints or a sign that he ran through the thick leaves. Well, out of breath, Dad came jogging up to me. No sign of him, I said, surprised at how worried I felt. Did you check the car? He sounded more angry than worried. Yes, it's the first place I checked. I gave the backyard a quick last search. I don't believe Josh would just take off. I do, Dad said, rolling his eyes. You know your brother when he doesn't get his way. Maybe he just wants us to think he's run away from home. And he frowned. Where is he? Where is he? Mom asked as we turned to the front of the yard. Dad and I both shrugged. Maybe he made a friend and wandered off, Dad said. He raised a hand and scratched his curly brown hair. I could tell that he was starting to worry too. We've got to find him, Mom said, gazing down the street. He doesn't know this neighborhood. He's probably wandered off and got lost. Mr. Dawes locked the front door and stepped down off the porch, pocketing the keys. He couldn't have gotten far, he said, giving Mom a reassuring smile. Let's drive around the block. I'm sure we'll find him. Mom shook her head and glanced nervously at Dad. I'll kill him, she muttered. Dad just patted her on the shoulder. Mr. Dawes opened the trunk of a small Honda, pulled off his dark blazer, and tossed it inside. Then he took out a wide-brimmed black cowboy hat and put it on his head. Hey, that's quite the hat, Dad said, climbing in the passenger seat. Keeps the sun away, Mr. Dawes said, sliding behind the wheel and slamming the car door. Mom and I got him back, glancing over at her. I saw that Mom was as worried as I was. We headed down the block in silence, all four of us staring out the car windows. The houses we passed all seemed old, most of them bigger than our house. All of them seemed to be in better condition, nicely painted with neat, well-trimmed yards. I didn't see any people in the house or the yards, and there was no one on the street. It certainly was a quiet neighborhood, I thought, and shady. The houses all seemed to be surrounded by tall, leafy trees. The front yards we drove past all seemed to be bathed in shade. The street was the only sunny place, a narrow gold ribbon that ran through the shadows on both sides. Maybe that's why it's called Dark Falls, I thought. Where is that son of mine? Dad asked, staring out the windshield. I'll kill him. I really will, Mom muttered. It wasn't the first time she'd said that about Josh. We'd gone around the block twice. No sign of him. Mr. Dawes suggested we drive around the next few blocks, and Dad quickly agreed. Hope I don't get lost. I'm new here, too. Mr. Dawes said, turning the corner. Hey, there's a school. he announced, pointing out the window at a tall red brick building. It looked very old-fashioned, with white columns on both sides of the double front doors. Of course, it's closed now, Mr. Dawes added. My eyes searched the fenced-in playground beyond the school. It was empty, no one there. Could Josh have walked this far? Mom said nervously. Josh doesn't walk, Dad said, rolling his eyes. He runs. We'll find him, Mr. Dawes said confidently, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel as he steered. We turned the corner onto another shady block. A street sign read Cemetery Drive, and sure enough, a large cemetery rose up in front of us. Granite gravestones rolled along the low hill, which sloped down and then up again into a large flat stretch, also marked with rows of low grave markers and monuments. A few shrubs dotted the cemetery, but there wasn't many trees. As we drove slowly past, the gravestones passing by in a blur on the left, I realized this was the sunniest spot I'd seen in the whole town. There's your son, Mr. Dawes, pointing out the window, stopped the car suddenly. Oh, thank goodness, Mom exclaimed, leaning down to see out the window on my side of the car. Sure enough, there was Josh, running wildly along the crowded row of white gravestones. What is he doing here? I asked, pushing open my car door. I stepped down from the car, took a few steps onto the grass, and called to him. At first, he didn't react to my shouts. He seemed to be ducking and dodging through the tombstones. He would run in one direction, then cut to the side, then head in another direction. Why was he doing that? I took another few steps and then stopped, gripped with fear. I suddenly realized why Josh was darting and ducking like that, running so wildly through the tombstones. He was being chased. Someone or something was after him. And that is the end of chapter 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for tomorrow. We will read chapter 3. Bye now.